One of the leading institutions in the United States right now with regard to wireless and healthcare is the West Wireless Health Institute, and with me is the new president of the WWHI. Did I get all that out right?
Did.
Don Casey. Don, good to see you. Congratulations, too.
Thank you very much. Really exciting opportunity, and been in the job 10 days, so if you ask me any really hard questions, John, I could be in trouble.
I think they're all layups. So we've had a very good relationship with the Institute, with Dr. Topol appearing here at the keynote last year. With regard to mobile healthcare and how it's reflected in how services are being provided on that side of the fence first. I mean, where are we right now as opposed to where we were a year ago?
A lot of progress. It's really interesting. Had the opportunity to speak to almost every major telecom company here. They're all waking up and saying, gee, what is our strategy? How do we play this? How do we become more than just a pipeline? And right now there's about 5 or 6 strategies out there. Everything from we're going to provide health. Right, we are going to get into the business, we're going to brand it with our name, and we're going to push health right out to you in some form of test, to we're going to partner with 2 or 3 different people where we might put a medical device manufacturer together with a software provider and then combine it with the telecom. So it's a race to how do you not become a commodity, how do you add value, and ultimately how do you participate in a space that today's kind of small. But ultimately, where is this going to finish? We think it's a multi-billion, multi-$10 billion kind of market over the next 10 to 15 years.
The growth potential, and I keep hearing so much about this, is that the sky's the limit, and all the ways that we can touch patients, and that healthcare providers can be more effective. But it seems like we're at this very nascent stage right now.
Well, it's really about, if you were a woman pregnant right now, you're probably in the 3rd week, and you've got a long time to go. Yeah, basically, you got a couple issues. There's a lot of ambiguity around what is the business model, who's going to pay for what, and who's going to get the benefit. That's the first thing. The regulatory pathway right now is frightening. If you're a medical device manufacturer, all of a sudden you've got to go learn about chips and what are the requirements there. If you're a chip manufacturer, gee, all these FDA regulations seem a little bit foreign. And if you're a telco, you're sitting there saying, geez, do I have a liability if I carry somebody's health data over and somewhere along the line something goes wrong? So until there's a little bit more clarity from a regulatory perspective and a business model perspective, we really haven't created a climate to see strategic investors come in a big, big way. So, I'd love to say next year, boy, it'll all change, but it's probably going to be a gradual process. There's going to have to be a couple wins in a couple different areas that I think will really transform the marketplace.
Such as, I mean, how do we get certainty and stability that you're talking about, that capital feels comfortable with, and that obviously the industry, the wireless industry today, feels comfortable with going forward?
It's a very good question, John. And if you think about it, for me, the first thing is there's got to be some clinical validation. Right now, everyone hypothesizes that wireless health is going to transform things. It's going to cost less money. It's going to deliver superior outcomes. And if you really push on the data right now, there's been a couple good studies, but there hasn't been a whole lot of studies where you can look from everything from moving images to somebody who might want to put a accelerometer into their new hip replacement to find out if they ever fall. So there's not a lot of data yet. So clinical validation is the first thing. The second issue is, and if you saw the FCC National Broadband Initiative, you actually saw for the first time a significant amount of mention around mobile health, wireless health, e-health, and they're looking to provide some of the clarity from a regulatory perspective. Let's find out who is jurisdiction. Is it FCC, FDA? Where does it need to go? So I think you're going to see in the next year, I know a lot of the clinicals that are on the books that will be coming out that'll actually be in the position to be published and give insurers and other people the data they need to really feel confident they're making good investments. And I think from a regulatory pathway, you'll see a lot of progress over the next year. But there's never going to be all of a sudden a light switch goes on and say, hey, it's time to go print money.
Right. Is there a place in the short term, though, do you think, okay, yeah, we could do this, or this makes sense in the meantime, so that there is some progression, there's something that's good that's happening?
There is. If you go into chronic disease, and you had Eric Topol sitting in this very chair about a year ago, Eric talked about chronic diseases, and where you've seen a lot of the focus in the last year is how do we take congestive heart failure, how do we take asthma, and how do we take COPD, which is a pulmonary disease of the lungs, and how do we basically find some clinical models that we can test pretty quickly. And that's, if you look at right now, the 5 or 6 key clinicals that'll come out over the next 12 to 18 months, will all go into those chronic diseases, and that'll really point the way. Because at least the hypothesis that we have that we're feeling pretty good about seeing in the clinic and seeing that validated are in those chronic diseases, and that's where we're spending literally hundreds of millions of dollars. So geez, if you can save 5%, all of a sudden that is a really, really significant savings. So
Well, Don, thank you for joining us. And 10 days on the job, oh my gosh, it sounds like 10 years. I think you're off and running, and I'm sure the Institute is in very good hands.
Thank you very much, John. Appreciate it. Hopefully see you next year.